Alright, this is Joe and Colo with okraw.com. Today we have another exciting episode for you. And to this episode, we'll be answering your guys' questions. If you have a question for me, you can submit it at the link below, which is basically on my community tab here on YouTube. Alright, let's get into the questions. First question is from Raw Intuition. When will you be offering phone calls again via Fiverr? Well, I hope to offer some kind of phone calls through Fiverr or some other method. There's some issues with Fiverr going on, so I'm looking for an alternative provider so that I can be accessible by you guys. Next question is from Cyril. If you were to relocate somewhere in the U.S. to build your dream permaculture residence plus food forest, where would you move to? All right, so I guess the operand word there is in the U.S., so I like the tropics. So for me, it would be something like Hawaii, probably not the Big Island, probably maybe Maui or Kauai. Also maybe Puerto Rico, which is a territory of the United States, and or one of the other South Pacific territories of the United States, maybe the U.S. Virgin Islands. That'd be one of the places I would move. I probably wouldn't move to the continental U.S. The places I might consider, which I've already been to and looked at, like South Florida. I prefer the Tampa area over the Miami area, or like Brownsville, Texas, and that's where you could go to kind of more tropical stuff. But I don't know. I really want to kind of get to an island somewhere, live off the grid. All right. Next question is from Johnny Raymond. How do we get the vacuum tops for our blender? Well, that's a good question. What blender do you have? So if you have a Vitamix or blendec blender, blendec is making a vacuum carafe for those blenders. It will not be out for 90 days. So just stay tuned for that. Other than that, most blenders don't have vacuum tops available. You can do a DIY. If I remember, I'll put a link down below to a video I made how to do it, in how I basically converted a NutriBullet to a vacuum blender. That being said, while that does work, it's not advised because most blenders are not designed to have a vacuum pulled on the carafe, especially if it's a stronger vacuum, which could actually pull the grease out of the bearings and mess up the seals in the bottom of the blender. Next question is from Dean Samichester. I eat pretty unhealthy and won't change my diet too much probably, and I was wondering what are some healthy foods that I can add to my diet that will be beneficial or tasty. All right, Dean. So number one is I want everybody to, stop eating the junk foods. I mean, that's the most important thing. I mean, it's not only about what you add to your diet, but it's also about what you take out of your diet, right? So you want to add as much of the healthy stuff as humanly possible and, remove a lot of the unhealthy stuff as much as possible. Processed foods and animal foods in excess are the unhealthiest foods, in my opinion, especially packaged foods, things with salt, sugar, and oil. Specifically, things that are baked, things that are cooked at high temperatures, right? On the flips, you want to get rid of those things, and you want to add as much as possible healthier alternatives. So eat more fruits and vegetables, right? I like high antioxidant fruits and vegetables myself. I have a garden sitting in my garden, grow a lot of them myself. Grow a garden, actually. That's one way to get involved, because once you start growing a garden, you're going to eat, hopefully, what you're growing. I have abundant amounts of beet leaves and spinach leaves right now, and parsley growing, and mint and basil and catmint, and my peppers and eggplants are going to hopefully start producing pretty soon. I would just recommend, and then juicing. Juicing is probably my number one tip for you guys out there if you guys aren't currently juicing, because juicing allows you to eat more quantity of especially the vegetables than you would otherwise, so that you can displace the junk foods you're eating. So I would say if you're only going to do one thing and not change your diet, I would say add juicing and try to drink as much fresh vegetable juice as you can in a day. Skip breakfast, instead drink a vegetable juice, and throughout your day when you're going to grab some junk food or other things in your diet, drink a juice instead, and then have your junk food. At least that way you're offsetting some of the junk food you're eating if you don't want to make any major changes. All right? So I applaud you for, knowing that you want to make some changes, and I would say start out by juicing. It's probably the best way to do it, especially those greens. Okay? Next question is from Indy D. You're my favorite raw foodist. Why, thank you. I know you have a ton of videos. Could you point me to some on how to get started on a lifestyle like yours, where you grow a lot of your own food? I eat roughly 70% raw and just moved to a house with a giant backyard. I now have plenty of space to grow my first garden, but don't know where to start. Any garden design tips for newbies? All right, Indy, so I have a whole gardening channel. I don't know if you're aware of that. It's at Growing Your Greens. So I have over 1,600 videos on growing a garden and starting a garden, and videos on how to take a backyard like this backyard, which was empty when I got here. Now it's full of plants and full of raised beds, and how to basically start it and grow your own food in your backyard. So I would recommend, checking out my Growing Your Greens YouTube channel. Link is down below for that, and I have lots of videos on how to grow your own food. I would encourage you to plant as many leafy greens as you can, because those to me are a lot more beneficial than planting tomatoes or peppers, because they're a lot more nutritious for us. And the plants, I have peppers here and eggplants there. You could eat pepper and tomato leaves technically. I don't know about eating eggplant leaves. Probably wouldn't be too good. But you got to wait for the plants to grow the leaves, and then you got to wait for the fruit, and then you get a little bit of fruit. But on plants that produce leaves only, as soon as they start growing, like my basil, I can start plucking them off and eating them. So that's what I'd say, yeah. And you want to make sure you amend your soil properly and take care of your soil, because your soil takes care of you. All right. So I applaud you for growing your own food. That's the raw foodist to the next level. So you're taking it to the next level. I approve. All right. Next question is from Truth Seeker 333. Is coconut cream a significant part of your weekly diet? How often do you consume coconut cream? So coconut cream is not a significant part of my daily diet. I don't know how you would figure that one out. I made coconut cream, which is basically putting mature coconut meat through the juicer and making its cream. Maybe if you're on a keto diet, you would do that maybe regularly. I do that very irregularly, maybe once, twice a year, if at all. But what I do on a more regular basis, maybe once a month, maybe twice a month, is I will basically use that same coconut meat, add it to water, blend it up in a vacuum blender, and then extract it with my hands like I did yesterday, or put it through a VSJ juicer, Omega, and make nut milk, or a coconut milk out of it, which is like cream with added water. And then I will turn that coconut milk usually into coconut ice cream that then goes in my fridge. So when I make the coconut ice cream, it also has dates and vanilla. Link down below. My last 2 batches actually had hemp in there, hemp juice. So it's actually from hemp leaves. So it's green, and so I'm getting my dose of CBD without the THC. And so I'm not a big fan of consuming lots of coconut. It does contain saturated fat and can increase your cholesterol. Although I think that many people that shun fats should probably eat some coconut products, as much as you feel you need it. I think dietary source of saturated fat is not needed. We can make our own, but I think it can be helpful in small amounts, so I eat it on a very irregular basis. All right, next question is from Gil. I'm 6'1" and always had a problem with weight. Right now I weigh 210, but my actual weight should be around 175. I think, what's the best raw food I can eat to lose it fast? P.S. I have a weakness eating pastas and pizzas. Could this be a problem? Thanks. All right. So if you're eating traditional pasta and pizza, like just from the restaurant, I would personally believe that's a pretty big problem. Pasta is basically grain-based, and pizza has the dough and the cheese and all these other things in there. And that'll put weight faster on you than you could say supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, in my personal opinion. So, there are no quick solutions to losing weight. Here's the thing. In my personal opinion, the main way to lose weight are two things, or 3 things. Stop eating the food that's causing you to gain the weight, or excess calories with low nutrition, right? Number 2, eat high nutrition, high water content foods, such as more fruits and vegetables, or specifically even juices. More importantly, 3, and this is the part that's left out in many cases, you want to eat foods that provide nourishment and nutrients, especially these valuable phytonutrient pigments to our bodies. Carrots have beta carotene. If you could even buy purple carrots near you, purple carrots have anthocyanins. They've done reliable studies with laboratory animals, which I'm not in agreement with, and giving them high anthocyanin diets You could also eat, black grapes for anthocyanins. I'd prefer to eat more vegetables for their anthocyanin content, like beets, which have betalains. But we want to eat really pigmented, colorful, purple foods as much as possible, because these phytonutrients can also positively impact and help with weight loss based on the studies in animal models, in my personal opinion. And this is the part that most people tend to miss. That's why I like juicing so much. Juicing allows me to concentrate these valuable phytonutrients. Cabbage juice, has these purple anthocyanins. Put a link down below, if I remember, to a video I made on the juice to lose weight, and I base that juice around having, all these valuable phytonutrients. So get a juicer, start juicing, and like I told Dean a little bit earlier, try to minimize and reduce the amount of junk food and pizza and pasta and other things you're eating, and maximize the amount of juice. And before you eat the junk food or the pizza, drink a bunch of juice first, and then go out for your pizza. You'll eat less pizza, and actually you'll at least come closer to meeting your weight goals, in my personal opinion. All right, next question is from Garib Al Garuba. Yeah, sorry I pronounced your name wrong. I'm not an English major. Do you live in LA or Las Vegas? Is it cheaper in LA or Vegas to have a garden in regards to land and water bill? After reading Jay Cordich's juicing book for juices uses healing, but you saying we should switch ingredients every day. I see. All right, so I technically live in Las Vegas. The cost of living in Las Vegas is significantly cheaper than Los Angeles in most ways, although there are some amazing resources in Los Angeles that I miss living in Las Vegas, such as good farmers markets and the wholesale produce terminal, and actually good wholesale nurseries where I get plant starts, okay? So is it cheaper in LA or Las Vegas to have a garden in regards to land and the water bill? So in specifically regards to land and the water bill, there's no comparison, dude. Las Vegas blows it away. Now, if you start your own seeds, you're totally good. I tend to buy a lot of plant starts, and there's no good nurseries around here, so I generally drive to LA to get good deals on the plant starts that I plant in my garden. Although this time I drove to Utah and got some plants up there, and I started some of my own seeds this year. So land is cheaper in Las Vegas, and the water bill is way cheaper in Las Vegas. California is going through water shortage, and you would think Las Vegas would have a water shortage, and we do, but nonetheless, the water prices are still insanely cheap for what it is. I think my water bill is like $50 a month or something silly. And then you also say, after reading Jay Cordich's book, Juices Uses Healing, and he basically says, drink this juice for this condition, drink this juice for this condition. And that goes in direct conflict with what I like to say, which is I like to say and tell everybody to vary your juices all the time. I like to use different ingredients, because certain greens, like you guys can't see it here, but the beets have oxalates in it. And if you're juicing a juice with beets or, other chenopodium or other, spinaches or chard, every single day, you're going to get high levels of oxalates, which probably most people aren't going to be able to deal with because they don't have the oxalate dissolving bacteria in their guts. But also, that's not a good thing because it can hinder absorption of different nutrients. Much like, if you juice kale every day, right, you could have a buildup of goitrogenic compounds, which may or may not be accurate. But to prevent all this from occurring, switch up your juices. Today, drink beet juice. Tomorrow, drink kale juice. The next day, drink some lettuce juice. The following day, drink some parsley juice. The next day, drink some bok choy juice. The next day, drink some celery juice. Every day, I'm juicing a different recipe. Although I have a root juice and a green juice I make, and I use some common ingredients, they always switch up based on what I have in my garden, based on what I'm getting a good deal on that's organic at the grocery store. I think this is important. And what the thing is this, that every plant absorbs different nutrients. And if you're drinking the same juice with 3 nutrients or 5 nutrients or 3 ingredients every day, you're only going to get a certain subset of nutrition. But if you switch those ingredients, you'll get this set of nutrition so that you could actually fill out your spectrum of nutrients and be healthier in the long run, in my personal opinion. That being said, I don't know about all those juices for specific conditions or healing. I know some juices have certain nutrients that maybe support certain conditions in the body. So it might be good to rotate those maybe once or twice a week and do other juices. But I strongly encourage diet variety. Very important. Oh yeah, his question continued. Some say these ingredients in a juice are good for healing blank. Yeah, healing whatever condition. So how often do you need to drink the juice with the same ingredients to heal? I don't know the answer to that one. Ask the author of the book. But what I would say is that, the more we can get out of our way, our bodies heal itself. It's not these magical juices. The juices can help us to ease the load of digestion on our body, giving our body more energy to do the healing. In addition, the juices can provide easily assimilatable phytonutrients and minerals and soluble fiber that will feed our beneficial microbes so that you can heal as well. All right, next question is from Emily Berry. This may be TMI, but how many times do you usually poop each day, and how much fiber do you usually consume? All right, Emily, not TMI. Raw foodists like to talk about poop. All right, so, I don't count how many times I poop a day. It's about maybe 11 o'clock, and I think I pooped already 3 times. And people are going, whoa, that's already a lot, man. I might poop like 6 to 8 times a day. I don't really know. I don't really keep track, man. But here's the thing, if you guys are thinking like, oh man, John has to sit on the pot and read his book and cram and has to like sit there for a half hour and his poop has to come out. No, I'm like a dog when I poop. Like a dog, he walks around, finds a nice spot, he squats, he poops, he walks away and he's done, right? My dog actually poops like 3 times a day, 2-3 times a day. Depends on how much I feed him. And I'm like that. Like if I got to go to the bathroom, I'll go to the bathroom, I'll squat, it comes out, and then I'm out. Like, I like hate when I go to public bathrooms and I'm like, the dude's in there for like, dude, I'm like, I gotta go poop. Seriously, I'm gonna be in and out before you could like sneeze. And they're like, 15 minutes later, I'm still waiting for the toilet. I'm like, man, I should have just found another bathroom. It's like, it shouldn't be that hard to empty our bowels, in my opinion. And then how much fiber do you usually consume? I calculate it like once because I never do these kind of calculations, but I eat lots of fiber, whether it's in my juice through the soluble fiber in my juices, or whether it's through the whole plant foods that I eat, fruits and vegetables predominantly, and other fiber-rich foods. I get lots of fiber. I far exceed what normal people do, in my opinion. Check the link down below for a day that I basically put all the foods I eat in a chronometer, and it says the insane amount of fiber. Now that number is artificially inflated because a lot of the fiber I get is from juice, and some of the fiber has been removed from the juice form. As 50% or more fiber can be reduced when juicing. So you'd have to take that number and maybe take a good half of that and then chop that off by half, but then I'm still getting plenty of fiber. And more importantly than just how much fiber you're eating is I would encourage everybody to eat more types of fiber. So I'm eating like fiber from seaweeds and fiber from different kinds of plant foods that are highly uncommon for most people. Fiber from mushrooms. There's all kinds of different fiber, and once again, diversity is the key to health and success, in my personal opinion, and this is also based on scientific studies. All right, next question is from Deepak Gutal. Hi, John. What's your opinion about hydroponically and aquaponically grown greens and veggies? Wouldn't these be nutritionally subpar compared to veggies grown in mineral-rich soil? I understand that hydro and aquaponics may appear more convenient, economical, and efficient, but are they really? Especially considering the nutritionally subpar end product. Can we even think of replacing soil that way or getting rid of it completely? Isn't it absurd? What am I missing? Something here. All right, Deepak, you are a wise person. So, what are my opinions on hydroponically and aquaponically grown greens and veggies? That depends on how they're being grown, right? I've been studying soil and studying all these things for quite a long time. I have covered this in previous episodes, and I do eat some organic, hydroponically grown, greenhouse-grown produce, and sometimes it's even conventionally grown IPM, which is not sprayed. So it's using, basically synthetic water-soluble fertilizers on some of the food I eat, But here's the thing, I encourage you guys to do the best you can. Because what I'm going to say, even I will eat some of these foods so that I could have more diversity in my diet and get some of the nutrients from these foods when I cannot grow them myself or cannot grow them in such quantity that I need myself at present time. That being said, my personal opinion, hydroponic is different than aquaponic. The input nutrient sources are different. In an aquaponics system, you have fish, you have bacteria that are breaking down the fish waste. So I believe that to be a better solution in some ways than a hydroponic solution, that generally the bacteria and the microbes are just not even in the equation in most situations. Sometimes they do add microbes, but then the microbes are getting selected for the ones that live in a water culture versus a soil culture. And the microbes, in my opinion, are very critical component to having healthy plants that make higher levels of plant metabolites, or you could think of them as phytonutrients or phytochemicals that the plants produce, as well as the whole host of minerals. So in general, I would think aquaponics that were properly supplemented with additional trace minerals could be fairly healthy. But the fact of the matter is, aquaponics are not grown for growing healthy crops. It's just for growing food and fish and plants at the same time, and thinking it's really cool, which on some levels it absolutely totally is. But on other levels, I've tasted aquaponically grown greens at many different farms, and to me they are definitely substandard in most cases, unless the farmer is adding things that most farmers don't add to make them top of the level. So I'd say they're almost they're higher, they're better quality than hydroponically grown, but not as good as soil grown, in my personal opinion, because soil is where it's at really. Now, as to hydroponically grown, I think that could be very deficient. For example, a friend of mine did hydroponically grown lettuce from Walmart and compared it to his lettuce that he grew, that he supplements trace minerals in. I forget the trace mineral he was looking at, selenium or something silly. And his had it was actually one of these other crazy rare earth minerals that we need, maybe platinum or something. But his had 100 times more of this trace mineral in there than store-bought lettuce, which is totally insane. And that's why I believe juicing is so important, to maximize some of the nutrients and concentrate some of the nutrients in deficient food. So I would say yes. I would say in general, aquaponic and hydroponic can be nutritionally subpar, although it depends on their growing practices. Surely you could add trace minerals into an aquaponic or hydroponic system, but unfortunately most places aren't doing it. And then there's the question of the bacteria and the microbes, the fungi, all the different creatures in the soil that are breaking down nutrients, making it available for the plants in this whole system that I just don't even understand, that I believe it's like the special sauce that is critical to having healthy food. That being said, don't go to the store and avoid, aquaponically or hydroponically grown produce if that is your best option. In many cases, I like hydroponically grown food because generally it's grown in a greenhouse, and generally they don't have to spray chemicals inside a greenhouse when they lock the doors and the pests can't get in. So are they really more convenient, economical, and efficient? Well, that depends, So a lot of hydroponic farms are grown indoors using lights, and that's not really efficient, although maybe easier, and you could fit more plants in the density in one space by growing vertically and using man-made things. There's pros and cons. Here's the thing. So as I get more mature and I think about these things more, there's always pros and cons to every situation, and you can't easily say this is best or that's the best. In some situations it makes sense to grow aquaponically or hydroponically, but in some situations it doesn't. And I would not even think about replacing soil and turning the whole farming into aquaponics or hydroponics. I think soil has a place. It's the way food has been grown for millions of years on the planet. So yeah, that's my answer. Oh, and I missed part of your question, which is, you talk about fortifying soils with trace minerals, rock dust, wood chips. Can we do the same with hydroponic structures and still achieve a nutritionally superior vegetable which is at par with one of the grown in mineral-rich soil? Thanks beforehand for your guidance. So I covered that. Basically, we want to add trace minerals, and the wood chips are there specifically to encourage fungal activity, which fungal activity is a special sauce, and most gardeners don't even focus on fungal activity, which will basically, in my opinion, and based on what I've seen, increase nutrients in the food. And definitely you're not going to have a lot of fungal activity in hydroponically. grown produce. Maybe with aquaponics you might have some. I haven't investigated that. But yeah, we want to duplicate nature as much as possible, and aquaponics is maybe growing food into a more human-derived method, which is closer to nature, and then hydroponics is just so far removed from nature. Not to say that you couldn't grow healthier food, but most places are just working on growing food for sale, and they're not really concerned about the health quality of it. All right, next question is from Lavinia Hasrison. Are you going to get the COVID vaccine? Why or why not? Thank you. So at this point, I have not gotten the COVID vaccine, and I do not plan on getting it. That's my personal opinion. I am 100% for vaccine freedom. I believe each person needs to investigate for themselves if they think the vaccine is viable or not to them. I think for some people it can be quite viable and maybe even life-saving for them. And for others, I think it is maybe not as beneficial and can cause issues. For example, both my parents got their vaccine. And honestly, I am glad both my parents got their vaccine, because they don't do in their life what it takes, in my personal opinion, to lead a healthy life. And let's not forget, why does the vaccine work, right? Once again, I'm a neophyte, I'm not a doctor. Consult your doctor for medical advice. I'm just showing you guys my opinions. Vaccines work because they take a small dose of inactivated, coronavirus and inject it into you. And then your immune system reacts to this small amount of virus that you don't get sick from, so that your body can produce the right, fighters to fight off, the virus, right? And so the vaccines only work because of our immune systems. My goal, instead of getting the vaccine, is to have the strongest immune system as possible. And since the virus came around, I've amped up my lifestyle, my diet, and what I'm doing. And I'm not going to say it's not a lot of work. I'm juicing. Yesterday I spent like 2 to 3 hours preparing food, so I'll have it for the next few days. And today I'm going to do another probably hour or two. Today I'm juicing my root juice. And most people simply do not have this level of commitment to their health. My brother, for example, it'd probably be a good thing if my brother got the vaccine. He goes out and eats junk foods all the time, and his immune system is probably not strong. It'd probably be good to give him that low inactive dose of the virus so that he doesn't come down with a more severe and virulent form later. Me on the other hand, the other thing is, in February 2020, I believe I already had the virus. Coming back from a trip from Texas and Florida, I was coughing nonstop on the plane from like dry cough. I've never had that before. I get back and I got this really weird flu thing. Like, it literally took me out for a day. Like, usually I'm like, if I get sick, it's not that bad, but this, I really just was bedridden, got up only to like work for a half hour, and then went back to bed. And then after that, I had some breathing. I got through that, and then I appeared to be fine, but then I was having some breathing issues where I couldn't fully breathe in my lungs, and I would tire out later in the day. And this occurred for probably a good 6 months. Finally, that's over with now. So I think I had the COVID. So I personally don't believe I need to get the vaccine. And the other thing is, if I do get the COVID and somebody coughs on me or I get the virus, I am fully confident that my immune system is here to be on my side, to fight it off, to take care of me, and operate it as it should, right? Many people get the virus and then they get better, which I believe happened to me. Unfortunately, if you are in a risky, condition, like are overweight, obese, have other pre-existing conditions that they've identified, then it might be more prudent to get the vaccine. So I'm never going to tell you guys what to do, but I encourage you guys to just look at what's available and what's out there, and take your own appropriate course of action. Of course, this is mine. And I would also ask you to respect my opinions on this topic and matter. I think that's the biggest problem with today, is that we're so, just basically attacking other people when they don't agree with you. And it's fine to have a difference of opinion on the planet. And I'm glad that, my friends and neighbors are getting their vaccine if they choose to do that. That's not my choice. But if you want to get it, hey, more power to you. And I think for some people, it can be quite beneficial. All right. Next question is from Garib Al-Garuba again. Why are inherited diseases harder to and take longer to heal in a raw vegan diet than contracted diseases? Well, that's a good question, and I'm not a doctor, so you would want to contact a doctor, qualified medical provider. But my personal opinion on this topic, for me, because I was diagnosed with a complement immune deficiency, which maybe is a little more challenging to reverse from than maybe just say like a common cold or something that you contract, is because it's inherited like in your roots, in your genetics, for example, and you may have some genetic predispositions, that you really need to amp up to basically reverse versus, getting a disease that our body could more easily fight off. Maybe it has to do with like how your immune system or how your body heals from that. Our immune systems help us fight off diseases that we may get, but if you have an inherited defect, like you're not methylating B12, you're not converting, beta carotene into vitamin A, that could really put you at, big disadvantage in your life. So that's all I got to say to that. Oh, and then he has another question. That blendec vacuum blender is sold out. Yeah, so anyways, that's a whole long story that I'm really not going to get into, but blendec didn't follow the agreement that we had, which was they were going to take back orders and ship out the back orders when I released the video, and they were supposed to give me 100 units to sell, and somehow that got reduced to 50, and then later that got reduced only to 32 of them, so then I only got to sell 32 of them, and then they're sold out, and then now they're going through, I'll just say, some issues with their company and restructuring and some other things that I cannot mention, and also they're out of stock on some of the items, and they're redoing the pump. So 90 days is what I'm being told, if it ever shows up or is ever available. So that's this month's Q&A. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you guys did, hey, please be sure to give this video a thumbs up. Also, please be sure to share this video with somebody else that you guys could think it could help. Also, be sure to click that subscribe button right down below so you don't miss out on my new and upcoming episodes that are coming out every 5 to 7 days. And make sure you click the little bell so you get notified as many videos come out. And finally, be sure to check my past episodes. My past episodes are wealth of knowledge, over 600 episodes at this time on this YouTube channel dedicated to teach you guys all about how to eat more fresh fruits and vegetables so that you guys can get healthier. So with that, my name is John Kohler with okraw.com. We'll see you next time. And until then, remember, keep eating your fresh fruits and vegetables. They're always the best.